Hi YouTube. I am back with another review, another recap of Young, Famous, and African, Season 1, Episode 6. And I'm wearing this really cute t-shirt that my sister bought me from her trip. She went to Curacao, and I didn't used to know how to say it, so I hope I said that correctly. But isn't it so cute? This is so adorable to me. I'm very grateful. So, thanks, sis. Anyways. All right. So, I'm Ava L'Amour Bra. That's my moniker. That's what I go by. I'm watching Young, Famous, and African starting in Season 1 and recapping the episodes. You can kind of get a background on like how this even started, why I'm doing this from my very first recap video, Season 1, Episode 1. And let's just get into it. So, before I even get into this recap, I'm going to say the key word of this episode is gaslight. And I know it's a phrase that is overused, but I think it's very relevant to this episode. So y'all let me know if y'all agree once we get into this recap. And I will be periodically sipping on some orange juice because it's a lot of yap going on in these recaps. And so, I get a little dry. And if you see me looking over to the left, it's because I take notes during the episode so I can kind of just remember what my reactions are in the moment and share them. All right. So we open the episode with Zari narrating about her plan to invite everyone on a train ride. And it's this train called the Blue Train. And, she says it's kind of cute because she's just like, she feels like everyone kind of just needs to release some steam in light of all the drama. And so the next cut is Zari going over to Andile's house to personally drop off his invite, which I was kind of curious about because I was like, I wonder if she did that for everyone. But nonetheless, TV, production, scripts, who knows why that happened. If it wasn't just like a plot tool, but she invites him over, and number one, he's really excited to have Zari at his house because he loves Zari, the boss lady. So he's just kind of just talking about how it's nice to have her coming over, but they're a little flirty, but ultimately when she invites him, he is bummed because he's just not looking forward to the fact that he has to pass up an opportunity there are things, I'm looking out a window and things are happening in the background. So please ignore me. I'm going to focus now. Okay. All right. So he is kind of bummed out about missing out on an opportunity to be with Zari for a whole weekend and just be able to get some one-on-one moments with her. But he's not going to be able to make it because he's visiting his father's grave, which, it's very sad. He's going to be going with his family, his children, his siblings. And, Zari is very disappointed, but, he's grateful for the invite. And he just checks with her. He's like, did you invite everyone? She's like, yeah, everyone is invited. And he's just like, oh, okay. So we go ahead and get straight into the trip. So the trip is going to be one of the most important parts of this episode. And so we have Zari, and now she is opening the scene of the trip. So she is of her trip. So she's walking up. She looks amazing in all her all white. So she has this flowy white pants, this long kind of, it's like a shirt, but kind of like a shirt dress, maxi shirt dress, but over the pants, this really cute tan hat. So it's kind of like fedora-y, but not, I don't know hat classifications, so y'all don't get on me. But she looks nice. And so she's got a red carpet rolled out for everyone, and just is really classy, the setup of it all. And then she has champagne to greet everybody. And so Kudzi and Kanye show up. Swanky is early for a change. So he shows up like 30 minutes ahead of time. Kaylee and Naked show up, but Annie hasn't shown up. And so Zari is like very disappointed because, like I said, she invited Annie in good faith, especially considering she apologized to her multiple times in the last episode. So it kind of looks like at this point, Annie is not going to be honoring the invite because, like I said, it's like 30 minutes before boarding and them taking off, and they are toasting, and everybody's just like, is Annie coming, et cetera, but it looks like she's not. And so they proceed to just get on the train without her. And I'll be honest, I was disappointed as well. And Kanye makes a comment in her confessional that these two grown women need to just deal with their problems, and she's kind of like gonna remove herself. And I agree, but I also feel at what point are we gonna hold Annie accountable for pretending to make up with Zari? Because for me, it feels like she clearly wasn't fine, so she lied. Like when she said sorry and she said everything was okay, she didn't mean it. And I just kind of take issue with that because there was no need to lie. Like, if it's not cool, if we're not cool, then just say that. And Zari is very upset. And she's upset that Nadia and Annie might not be coming or making it. And I know that I have said in pretty much all of my recaps that this is a Zari Stan account. But objectively, I'm disappointed for her just because she planned an event and she invited people, and it's just starting to feel like this is kind of just unnecessary catty behavior from these women. And I say that because, like, Zari doesn't even know that Nadia doesn't like her. I mean, because up until this point, we're now at episode 6, and I have not heard Nadia say to Zari that she doesn't like her. So, to my knowledge, just based as a viewer, it just looks like she's just being thrown shade, like, kind of like out of nowhere in Zari's perspective. So, anyways, so now everyone's getting on the blue train, and this looks so cool, I have to admit. Like, I was just like, this is something I would definitely love to try because it just looks so luxe and, like, I don't know, it's like an elevated train experience. Like, they can sleep on the train. I just think that's pretty amazing. And so they're just waiting to see if the other girls will show up. And we end up finding out that Nadia is definitely not coming because the next scene is on delay. Because after everyone has gotten on the blue train, it jumps to another scene. And in this scene, Andale is going to meet up with Nadia to apologize to her for his hypocrisy. And I just was like, okay, I mean, I guess that was good of him, but, I'm starting to feel like Nadia and Annie are a little bit childish, so I guess that's why for me it was just like, you have to go and apologize. But I mean, look, Andale is a gentleman, so he did the right thing. But when he meets up with Nadia at their one-on-one where they're like meeting up for like drinks or something, Nadia says that she wants to stay far away from Zari because, number one, Zari's not her friend, and number two, because she's heard so many bad things about her. And I'm just going to pause here and say, I kind of feel like Nadia and Annie are the drama. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion, unpopular take, just as far as like what I have seen. But I feel like Nadia's issue with Zari was, first, she didn't like how close Zari is with her former partner, Diamond, and the father of her children, whom she shared a life with previously. So that was her issue with Zari initially. Then it was being told by Kanye, not experiencing it herself, but being told by Kanye that Zari pulled Annie's husband aside. And like, I didn't like that either, but it's just starting to feel like, Nadia, you're grasping for straws. Like, because you've also said in previous episodes that anyone would be intimidated by Zari and her relationship with Diamond, that she's a beautiful girl, that she can make anybody feel uncomfortable, but then you're saying that it's drama, that she's a drama magnet, that's why you don't like her. Okay. The next, I feel like Annie actually has a reason to have an issue with Zari. So fair, but I feel like an attempt, though clearly unsuccessful, was made to squash it on Zari's part. So I don't know, it's just starting to feel like a pylon at this point. And I don't really respect that. So, but I mean, let's just see how, we have one more episode before the season ends. So let's see how this continues to play out. So we go, so Nadia and Andile, it's still on them. They're having a heart-to-heart about fathers. Andile is sharing about his need for closure, which is why he's doing this graveside visit. And Nadia is opening up about her probable need for closure because her father isn't dead. He just is relatively dead to her because she doesn't even know where he is. And she's just discussing with Andile how she feels about that and how that has impacted her view on men and dating. So effectively, she has ended up feeling like men are disposable, and she feels she has a hard time navigating relationships with men, from her and Vic to her previous toxic relationship she was in, to what's going on with her and Diamond. So I'm just kind of curious to see how Nadia, like how far Nadia takes this absentee father storyline, and if it's going to end up picking up any steam, because I do think that it could be pretty compelling. And I do appreciate this through line right here with both Andile and Nadia talking about like their families of origin, and like, you know, Andile dealing with the death of his father and how that's impacting him and Nadia. So yeah, but she does say that she's not ready to cry that hard if he ends up being a disappointment. So I don't know, it doesn't really sound too promising at this point, but we'll see. So now we're back on the train, and Zari is giving her speech. She's honoring her guests, and guess who walks in? Annie! Okay. So, you know, I'm glad to see she's come. And you can just tell her energy is very skeptical. And she says the same as Nadia, that she feels Zari is drama. But y'all gotta help me. Y'all. The viewers. All of 20 of y'all, who I'm very, very grateful and appreciative of, because y'all are my people. So, what am I not seeing about Zari? Like, can I say that she's a big personality? Absolutely. But I don't know why she's become this drama magnet, because I feel like her drama is that Diamond isn't over her, that Andile's Diamond's friend and he wants her, that Nadia is Andile's best friend who likes Diamond, so therefore she doesn't like Zari, and Annie is Andile's other best friend, and she doesn't like Zari because Zari knew her husband. So it's just like, Zari is the drama because the men are attracted to her, whether it's romantically or platonically, and the women can't stand it. Is that the drama she brings? Like, I want to understand, like, is this the drama that Zari is bringing? Because I need to know what else is at the heart of Zari just being this, like, controversial figure in this group. I don't know. So I am open to having it explained to me in the comments. So Zari is giving a speech. She's giving a speech and telling everyone how grateful she is. And she is thanking everyone for honoring her invite. And she uses the words, "Thanks for honoring my invite." And she puts an emphasis on my. And Kanye takes issue with it. So she took it as Zari trying to assert herself as the Beyonce of the group. And so Zari says in her confessional, because she picks up on this like weird energy from Kanye, and she says, "Am I missing something?" And like, agreed. Like, what is up with the Zari hate? Like, Kanye literally started this show first episode with a ball and introduced everyone to each other. Like, she stepped right on the young, famous, and African scene with the very first event of the season of the history of YFA, and I said in my first recap that made me feel like, okay, Kanye is like hot-ish, okay? She is definitely someone to watch. And I feel like, she's gotten one of the best edits. She's got the least drama. So hearing that Zari wants to dethrone her because she's giving a speech during her event, but Kanye gave a speech during her event. And then let's not forget that her best friend, Annie, now was throwing major unwarranted shade upon first meeting her during her speech. So I don't get it. But Annie doesn't get any continued hate for that. But Two-Face knew Zari enough to want to speak to her. And now Zari sucks. Like, she just sucks as a person. Okay. All right. I mean, y'all keep helping me understand what's going on here and why Zari is just the worst person on earth, because I don't get it. I don't understand. So we kind of just like we bypass the speech and, the weird energy that happened because of it. And now everyone is getting ready to have dinner. But instead of dressing up, someone suggested pajamas, so they all come to dinner wearing pajamas. And it looks like, Zari just went with the flow. So I was like, okay. So anyways, Zari, Swanky, and Annie have to sit together for dinner. And because, it looks like they're on a train with other people. So it's not like they have the whole train to themselves. And one of the only tables that is open is where Zari, Swanky, and Annie can sit together. And, it's awkward. But as always, Zari, a woman after my heart, she chooses to ignore the awkwardness and just kind of push through to appreciate that Annie showed up, period. And she just chooses to not even acknowledge the fact that Annie has a weird little attitude or anything. She's just like, look, Annie showed up. I'm grateful she showed up, and I like that attitude. And so, she chooses to engage her. So she's asking her how the wedding planning is going, which I thought was just kind, and I don't know if it's am I just so biased that I just don't see what Zari is doing that is just so bad. And Annie says in her confessional, she knows for a fact she doesn't need Zari's energy on her special day. So we can basically already predict that Zari's not going to get an invite. So she didn't get an invite to Swanky's event because she's dramatic. She's not going to get an invite to the wedding because she has bad energy. And Annie is her vow renewal. But in contrast, Zari is in her confessional and she is talking about this experience being awkward. But she says that at the end of the day, as a woman, she wishes Annie well for her vow renewal. And every single time I am just the proof is in the material and why I'm a Zari stan. She's not a perfect person, who is, but I feel like she has redeeming qualities. So now the train has arrived to a safari game reserve. And so Zari says in her confessional that she's bothered by everyone's dry energy. And I agree, because I kind of feel like if you guys all came to pile on, then why accept the invite, And so the group is clearly divided because you have Swanky, Kanye, Kudzi, Annie, and they're in one Jeep. And they're having the time of their life. At least that's how it's edited. So it just looks like they're just yucking it up, having the time of their life. And then you have Zari, Kaylee, and Naked in another Jeep. And Annie says in her confessional that, her Jeep is the one with the good energy. And I'm like, okay. So Kaylee says in her confessional that Zari saying thank you for being here with me, and her emphasis on that they are joining her didn't sit right with everyone. And I'm just why? Because I'm but look, in the Jeep, Naked calls it, and he says that it's giving Zari is Cinderella and Kanye and Annie are the stepsisters bullying her, because while she was giving her speech, they were talking and they were whispering. And Kaylee tried to like say during this exchange, like, you know, of Naked telling Zari that it's like giving Cinderella, that there was a reason. But I mean, even what she said in her confessional, I just felt like Kaylee didn't get to the point for me, read why that was an issue, because I just feel like I need to know, like, what unspoken rules are there around thanking people for an honoring an invite you sent them, because I would like to know, like, you're not supposed to say thank you so much for honoring my invite, or thank you so much for honoring me, and like, what? I don't get it. Like, what is wrong with that? So we cut to the graveyard scene with Andile, and I really feel for him, you know, like, he and his family are just reflecting on the gap that his father left, and it is a very, very emotional scene. There is just some B-roll of Andile's father and some pictures of him, and like, I kind of feel myself like tearing up and choking up right now, because it was just so beautiful. It was so sweet, and I really felt for Andile in that moment. So I definitely want to say R.I.P. to him. So we're gonna move on to the rest of. They're going back to the train, and so now the crews are going through the safari, and it's nighttime, and they encounter a lion and a hyena, and you know, these animals are like super close to them. I mean, in terms of like, they're the closest, they're as close as you could be at a safari, you know, like, I've never been feet from a hyena or a lion. So Annie is stressed, and she is just like cracking me up during the scene, because she is just like, can we go? Like, why are we doing this? Like, this is not normal. Like, you don't need to do this. And I would be stressed too. So it was hilarious. So they complete the safari, and now they're arriving at a dinner that's been set up for them. So Kaylee is seated next to Zari, and she asks if she's going to bring up, you know, what she was talking to Naked and Kaylee about in the Jeep. And now, this is the second time I have noticed Kaylee stirring the pot and working for that check, okay? So this is no shade, because despite how unassuming you might think Kaylee is, Kaylee's on her job. You hear me? Okay? She's giving you relationship melodrama. She's moving this plot line along. And I just really got a kick out of that, because she did this same thing at the tea party in episode 3. And here she is again, 3 episodes later, getting this started. So I just thought it was so funny that she was doing the same thing, like kicking it off again. So Zari says, oh yeah, absolutely, I'm going to mention it. And then she proceeds to mention her issue. So literally, like, Kaylee strikes the match. And you know what? She did the same thing. She did the same thing in episode 4 with Annie, when she was talking to Annie outside at Andile's party. And she was asking her if she was going to say anything, or if she had a problem with Zari pulling Two-Face aside. So, and so now I can find out why. So now, you know, we're about to find out what Zari said was a problem, and why she is just such a feather ruffler. So Zari straight up says that it was effing rude, and then Annie has the gall to say, why didn't you just say that then? And I'm just like, excuse me? She did. She said that. Like, when y'all were all sitting there on the train and she was giving her speech, and you guys were giving all this weird energy. Sorry, I had to cut really quickly, so I'm jumping back in. So yeah, Annie says that if it was an issue, like, why bring it here to this dinner after they just had this amazing day? Why didn't she say it right then and there? And she absolutely did. When they were sitting on the train, she was giving her speech, and Kanye's energy just completely shifted out of nowhere. She said to Kanye multiple times, what's going on? And she mentioned, like, why did your energy shift? And Kanye said she was cold. So I'm just like, okay, all right. So now I see a totally new side of Kanye, because despite all of that perspective she has to give to others, she asked Zari how was she supposed to receive her gratifying herself. Kanye, huh? So Zari thanking her guest for attending her event was taken as her gratifying herself? Really? But when Swanky was thanking everyone for being at his cover release party of his GQ cover, and thanking people for being there to literally look at a cover of him, that wasn't him gratifying himself? And Naked redeems himself for like the second time this episode alone, just because of his defense of Zari. And, y'all can call me biased, all right? But I'm giving him his 10s because he says that not only is it a level of respect that you give to the host of an event when they are speaking and giving their speech, which was not afforded to Zari when Annie and Kanye were being rude during her speech, but he also reminds Kanye that she gave 7 speeches at her ball and everyone respected her during her speeches. No whispering, no speaking over her. But I see that Kanye is wanting to make a distinction between her ball, which I'm assuming she financed and put together, and this trip is not Zari's, aside from her inviting everyone on it. So, I guess basically, like, Kanye is trying to say, like, my ball was my ball. Like, I put that together. Like, this is not your trip. You just invited everyone. But regardless of whether or not this was, like, a cast trip that production put together and put Zari in charge of, because I'm feeling like that's what it is, that this is, like, a trip that was scheduled for, like, the actual show. So it's, like, written into the show, but they just chose Zari to host it. And regardless, she's hosting it and she's doing a great job. So I just kind of feel like, what is the issue? I don't know. It was weird. And now Kanye is saying that Zari isn't the only celebrity and she mocks her for being the boss lady. And I'm just kind of astounded, honestly. I am shocked. And, Annie's in her confessional and she's just loving Kanye and Zari, like this split that's happening between them, and Kanye like calling Zari out, and that's to be expected. So Swanky gets upset and he's just like, why are you ruining the night with this conversation? And he calls out Kaylee and Naked for not doing their part to liven up the energy during her speech. And I will say that Kaylee, she got a slightly deserved tap, because I do feel like she wanted to air it all out and it got aired out. So, but I appreciate that Naked and Kaylee defended Zari. But because they defended Zari, the lines have been drawn. So Kanye says she's disappointed in Naked, and that how do they expect to fight as 3 of them, like Zari, Kaylee, and Naked, to win against the fight of their 4, Kudzi, Kanye, Annie, and Swanky. And I just didn't really know what to think about that, because I just feel like, so you're basically saying we're bigger than you. Like, why would you even try us? Like, are you serious, Kanye? So Annie gets up and she gets her crew to leave. And, they all decide to just leave Kaylee, Naked, and Zari at the table. And I'm just going to say, I feel like it's always wild to watch fully grown adults bully someone, And Swanky is in his confessional and he's talking about, Zari shouldn't try to divide the group. But I feel like y'all clearly drew your lines when you segregated yourselves into the vans. Swanky, you could have sat in the van with Kaylee, Naked, and Zari, who is also your friend, but you didn't. You sat with Annie and you sat with Kanye, 2 people who were throwing shade at Zari. So you chose a side. But you talked about in I think it was episode 4, or maybe it was 5, whenever they got together to sit down and hash it out, when Annie and Zari hashed it out, he talked about how he doesn't like discord or dysfunction, or like he likes unity, but it's like, how are you perpetuating unity by doing that? So now we have a scene with Nadia and Andile meeting up again because, they're the two who are not on the trip. So, they're doing double duty with these one-on-ones, okay? And so they're meeting up to talk about Nadia's daddy issues. And Nadia shares with Andile that her and Vic broke up. And, she looks sad. She's sad about it, but she feels like the distance was just a lot. And she shares that she has an expectancy of men to leave her, so she's not broken by it because of, what she's experienced with her dad. But Andile cautions her that when she sits with a therapy, she will probably cry the best cry ever. And Nadia just expresses not wanting to cry again, the same way that she expressed earlier. So I just really felt for her in this scene. And they were both just bringing like the emotional, like tear-jerking aspect to this episode. And I could just tell that Nadia is holding on to a lot. So I'm glad that they had each other to lean on. So now we are getting to the last scene of the episode. So Zari is hosting a Gatsby party that evening. So she walks in looking beautiful, but based on the safari and how it ended, she's not hopeful about how the night is going to go, but she's resolved to make the best in the night regardless. And Kanye says in her confessional that she's going to continue to fight Zari until she gets that the rest of the group are not her fans. And Zari, in her confessional, expresses that she's really taken aback by, her friend, Kanye, addressing her how she did, as she would not have done that. And I am taken aback by it too, because I just feel like with friends like this, who needs enemies? And I'm really not, I'm like, okay, so because you met up with Two-Face and Annie and y'all had your double date, now all of a sudden Zari is the enemy? Is that what's happening here? Like, I'm just really confused about like this shift. And you always have to keep in mind that like there's a lot of editing going on, so who knows what like we did not see, what conversations that have happened that didn't make got chopped on the editing floor. So I always keep those things in mind, but it kind of just seems like a drastic shift. And so Kanye joins Zari at the casino, and she's showing up with Kudzi, but she doesn't say anything to her friend. But she's basically saying that, she wants Zari to basically back down and say that she was wrong. Wrong for what? Wrong for what exactly, Kanye? Like, I just don't understand. So now Kayleen and Naked show up and they greet Zari warmly. And now we have Swanky showing up and he's talking about how he's a unifier and all this discord is bringing him down. But yet he goes into the event with stank energy because he too does not appear to say hi to Kaylee, Naked, or Zari. And I mean, they didn't say hi to him either, but I just feel like, you are entering the room. Wouldn't you say hello? So Annie shows up now and she's not dressed up at all. So they're all dressed up like to the nines, looking amazing in their Gatsby inspired outfits. And Annie is not. And she's basically just like, what am I dressing up for? And I just feel like they're bullying this woman. I don't like it. But anyways, and of course, ever the gracious host, Zari offers Annie a drink, which she didn't appear to accept on screen, but the party has a clear divide. And, now we have a cut of Zari and Kanye talking off to the side. Oh, no, this is Annie and Kanye talking out to the side. And Annie is, like, checking in with Kanye, and she's just like, didn't we just have a good day? And Kanye's like, yeah, but she says that of Zari. She doesn't say Zari's name, though, but she says that when you're not used to being the center of attention, it's a problem. And I'm just like, really, Kanye? This is what you think about Zari? I am really shocked by this. And then there's another side conversation. This is now Naked and Kudzi. They're talking off to the side because Naked sees Kudzi is not really getting involved with the mess. And, he takes this opportunity to set things straight, him fighting with Kanye. And they basically just like piece it up like Naked and Kudzi. So that was good to see. So now we're getting to like the final few minutes of the show, this episode, and Swanky decides he wants to give a speech. Keyword, speech. Swanky says, He wants to give a speech. And he wants to address the division that he is participating. And he's calling out the drama and the BS. He's swearing. And he's directing his comments to Team Zari, aka Naked Kaylee and Zari, and saying that he's leaving if it continues. And Swanky is pissed. Like, he is yelling at Kaylee, Naked, and Zari and blaming them solely for the division. And so Kudzi is asking, he's just like, Swanky, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? And Swanky is just going off. And now Annie and Kanye join to gaslight Team Zari and Naked, and Team Zari, and Naked calmly points out that, like, once Swanky is finished, that Swanky gave a speech and everyone listened. And then Swanky's just like, I didn't give a speech. It wasn't a speech. He literally stood up and said, I want to give a speech. Everyone listens quietly. But then when Naked points out the hypocrisy that you gave a speech, everyone listened, this same respect was not afforded to Zari. And he's just like, I don't even know why. Like, why can we not afford this respect to Zari? Swanky is immediately gaslighting. And now Kanye is saying that Team Zari started it all, and Annie is in her confessional. She's calling Zari this lady and saying how this lady wants to divide the group. And I'm just like, what? And so now Kanye goes on to say that ever since Zari came into the group, she's ruffled feathers and that she's brought drama and she's trying to be the boss of the group. And Zari rightfully says that Kanye is projecting how she feels onto Zari because Zari feels like people are intimidated by her just being herself. And in her confessional, Annie says, Zari has fake hair, fake this, fake that. How could she be intimidated by her that she could never be intimidated by, like, someone like Zari? And I just feel like that's so nasty, you know? Like, it is just... So Zari sums it up as where they're like, oh, and then Swanky feels similar that Zari is trying to be the celebrity of the group, and Kanye goes on to make the distinction that, like, this is my friend group. Like, you are new to this group and you're causing drama. And, you know, the episode ends with Zari summing it up as when there are two powerful women, there's going to be a clash. And that's just what's happening between her and Kanye. But I have to say, I could have never seen this clash between Kanye and Zari coming. But now that I'm running it back, if you listen to my recaps, hindsight is a mofo, because I have mentioned multiple times that no matter what, whenever Zari is meeting up with somebody, and especially Kanye, Zari is so complimentary. She is always mentioning how beautiful Kanye looks and how she looks so fly. She's always, and I told you that, I love that energy from her. She's always just so, like, happy to see her friends and so welcoming, but it's not mutual. And I'm only just picking up on that now, so y'all let me know your thoughts, because I feel like this whole episode and recap was me just, like, fighting for my life to defend Zari against this bullying that I feel like she's experiencing. And I don't know if I'm just being biased, but I'm trying to be as objective as possible. And it is given, like Naked said, she's Cinderella, and I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all think. But I'll be back. This is about to be the second to last video for this whole season. So episode 7 is next to round out the season. So I'm really excited to film my last recap and then kind of give my final thoughts on the season before we get into season 2. All right, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate everybody, and I hope you're well.